and I cry my heart out, and it almost feels like I'm calling to a motherly figure, but not my mom, but a motherly figure, and I am like, I've just had enough. Can you hold me? I I don't know what to do, but if I get through this, whatever you tell me, I'm going to do it.
Welcome to this episode of the Epic Kate podcast. I'm so happy to introduce you to Shubhangi. She's such a wonderful lady, and she has such an interesting journey of discovering her psychic abilities and her magic in this world. She has such a soft and gentle and secure spirit about her. I can't say enough good. I actually was a guest on her podcast, and I'm really looking forward to hearing that episode. I got a psychic reading from her, and I took so many notes. It was just these profound words just coming out of her. But that's not this conversation. We talked a lot about her childhood, about just the feeling different. In this podcast, I definitely have been collecting people who feel different, who were the quote unquote weird kids. But if you know me, you know that I do not see weird as a bad thing. I see weird as a beautifully special and different, daring to be different kind of thing. So we dived into her spiritual journey. But I also asked a question, seeing if there and any of the wisdom inside of her could answer me about being dumb about sleep, personal sabotage, and it was really interesting to hear her answer about that. Another thing that I thought was really interesting about this conversation was the fact that she grew up in India, and in her family and in her culture, most people go through the motions of their religion, and they recite the things and they do the things without much thought for what they meant. And she was a kid that was like, but why? I want to go deeper. I want to know God. I want to have a connection. And that was an unusual stance. That just feels so timely and so powerful for now. That yes, let's dig into why we're doing what we're doing, why we're believing what we're believing. I will come back at the end of this conversation with some more thoughts, so for now, let's jump in.
Heartfelt conversations can change the world. Here's the Epic Kate podcast.
Welcome, Shubhangi. I'm so happy to have you on my podcast. Did I say it?
Yes, you
Okay,
said.
okay. What's really fun is my last name is Biarguida. So many podcasts begin with people saying, how do I say your name? So I know how this is. How are you?
I am feeling amazing. I am feeling excited, refreshed, energized. I'm ready to just like go in the podcast and
Awesome.
share as much as I can with you.
So could you give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
This morning I was thinking about this question because it's inevitable. And something that came to me this morning was I don't like putting myself into boxes. And I would still love to give something tangible for your audience to see me as because I am a seeker. I am a soul on her journey to discover who she is over and over again. I feel something that has been prevalent in my life has been becoming and unbecoming some more. I have been a former software engineer. I have been a writer. Currently, I'm in this career transition phase of being a transformation and empowerment coach. I also do psychic stuff. I am in the process of launching my podcast. I am doing so many different things. And somewhere I think these boxes are enough. Let me not put more boxes out there.
I hear you. That's
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah, I was a guest. That's how we connected. Was I was a guest on your podcast and got a psychic reading, and that was so stinking cool. And I still have my notes with me. And so I'm just so amazed at superpowers, man. And I know that's such a silly kid-like way of saying that because there's like much more deep and guru like ways of explaining things. And like I've read this beast of a book, Autobiography of a Yogi. Like I know it's not about the superpowers, it's about the inner peace and the inner knowingness and the being and the contentment. But it was such a powerful experience. Like I've been guests on podcasts before and I'm like, I don't want to listen to myself again because I know my stories already. But I really want to listen to our conversation because there were so many nuggets of wisdom and just pure truth that just like whooshed over me. And I felt so challenged and encouraged and I just felt so much love in the process. So I was just like, the whole way through we're going, I'm like, I want to hear about your spiritual journey. I can't wait to get you on my podcast. So, when let's go back real far. When you was there times as a kid that you just felt really different, that you saw things that weren't normal for a kid to see or experience things that people were like, that's weird. That couldn't be true.
I'm having so many goosebumps right now. Wow. I didn't have the knowing of a psychic back then, but I knew, and this is something a friend of mine commented last year when we were talking, and she said, you were doing math intuitively all through school because you were never able to explain why you chose a different solution than everyone else, but your answer always came. And I think somewhere there was this process that was always helping me go through life as a kid. And it was as simple as listening to myself and not questioning. And sometimes I did not do that, of course, for obvious reasons. We are not always 100% in our own alignment. But there's a very distinct memory of one time where I think my spiritual connection started forming really fast. We were in ninth standard, and there's an organization, I think it was ISKCON or something. They were doing these events in school for kids where you have this beautiful book called Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and we had to recite verses from that. So it's written in Sanskrit. It's a very difficult thing for a kid back like 15 years or 14 years to memorize if someone hasn't learned about that prior. So for me, it was a challenge, and my Hindi teacher said, you're the one who's going to go forward with it. And I said, Ma'am, I don't know because I have never done this before. And she said, no, but you're the best kid and you performed really well. And I don't think there's anyone else. So I had to go into that contest, and it was organized in our school. And there were a couple of kids from other schools, and it was not a big event, but it was quite a competitive one, like 30, 40 kids, different schools, and I was really nervous. I do remember when I recited it, I closed my eyes out of fear. But as I was reciting those verses, I started hearing bells, and that made no sense. The text Srimad Bhagavad Gita is actually the text Lord Krishna spoke to Arjun during the epic Mahabharata when he was going through personal crisis while doing his duty and fighting the war of dharma. And I'm getting so many chills. when I connected with those verses, I felt I was somewhere starting to connect with Krishna. And slowly I started somehow by my kid brain, started to connect with Krishna, started to do things as he told me. I think I also started sitting with uh, the the worship place, the mandir that we had in our home, and talking as if I'm talking to a friend. I'm saying all of my life's problems, and I used to somewhat hear the solution. Like, and I don't know, I cannot explain what it was because back then it was just like, oh, this is the problem, and blah 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 blah. And once my mom also asked, like, who are you talking to? And I said, I'm talking to God. She would make a face of talking to God, like really talking to God. But that is when I do remember I started my spiritual journey in devotion to a particular form of God.
Hmm.
And my psychic powers got a little bit of direction, even though I did not still understand what psychic means and stuff. But I was always drawn to magic. And just like you mentioned at the start, like I was drawn to superpowers. I love superheroes. And like that's the stuff that fascinated me as a kid.
Hmm. So, is it were you a weird kid to talk to the what would do you call them god like what do you call the shrine area?
In the home,
Yeah.
it's called a mandir. Mandir
Okay.
means, yeah,
So when you were so do other kids talk to their mandas or were you a weird kid?
I was the weird kid.
So it was like kind of it's me I'm just trying to figure out is it kind of like you just it's just a part of the household and it's not something that not every family feels really devout to. It's just kind of like culture, like everybody does it, and on special holidays you do the special things that everybody does.
So yeah, okay. So the mandir is basically it's what is that space called?
Like
It's
an
like an
altar.
altar.
Yeah,
Yes,
altar.
it's like an altar. It has idols and all the photographs and stuff. So Krishna was I'm not sure back then what was, but I think there was a small image of Krishna there. Krishna is the god that I was referring to.
Mm-hmm.
So I would literally sit and just say, my parents used to worship, they did not talk to God. Nobody talked to God. So that was the weird thing. That how can I hear God and talk to God because I'm not spiritually advanced or like at that guru level yet. So that
Okay.
that that is the thing. Yeah.
That's so interesting because in every religion, there's people who are going through the motions because it's cultural, and then there's the weird people who are like, "But no, I want to take this more serious. They're calling to me, don't you hear?" And they're the weird ones. So, was there a direct connection, do you think, between hearing those bells, having that experience, and then starting to really like have these abilities?
Oh yes. I feel the bells that I heard probably were some form of past life memory
Mm.
because I have a feeling it was like that because okay, so I'm bringing this up out of the blue, but when I went to the trip a few months back, the one that we talked about, before that, um, there's a special temple there that I wanted to visit. And whenever I would think of that temple, like there would be just like these visuals and just like these sounds and these conches and everything. Like I have never been to that place. I have not even seen it in videos and stuff, but I would just get this visuals and audios now. So I believe back then as well, I was getting some psychic information that I did not know. As a kid, like I said, as a kid, I had no idea what was going on with me. So I now looking back, it must have been a past memory from another lifetime, probably.
Okay, I want to ask a question, and I'm nervous too because I think it's going to sound dumb. So that's why I should ask it. So, do you feel like in that moment of reciting that you were feeling loved by Krishna, or that like in a past life you were Krishna?
Oh, Krishna, no, no, I don't think I was Krishna. Krishna is he's way beyond, like he's the ultimate. I think I was a devotee of Krishna in some past life and probably had recited those mantras in that kind of setting. So when I was doing it again, something about it just came to me.
It's I guess it's kind of like how people who are like in a past life I was Cleopatra, but like yeah, okay, everybody was Cleopatra. But then of course
I,
there is the theory that we are all getting every experience just one life after another. So that's an interesting one. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. Um, I something that struck me in your story was that your teacher told you that you were the best kid. Is that have you hmm, have you been a kid that got a lot of encouragement and love and support, like from your family, from teachers that saw your potential?
yes and no. Yes, because they all saw the potential for me academically. They all saw like the good kid. I was a good kid. I got good grades, and there was always this desire in me for more. I never knew like what that desire for more was, but in my childhood years, it was like, okay, if I get more marks and like more grades and like more accomplishment, I can have more in life. So that way, they really saw that and they nurtured that part of me. When I said no, they did not support me and love me, was there were a lot of parts of me that did not feel loved and supported, and probably I didn't even need them back then. Like I was really bad in sports. I did not take care of my physical health at all. I was not very good with music and dance, and I was very shy of expressing myself emotionally. And there were other things and talents like psychic stuff or just having fun, like those parts of me, they were not nurtured because nobody even knew that those parts needed nurturing. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So I can you think of like the first time where you're like, I'm having a psychic experience. What the what?
Mm, I think my biggest realization of psychic experience was around when I was 20 years old. So, and my stories always involve other people because I can see it's much easier for me to see for other people. And so there was this friend that I used to have, and for some reason we did not get along after a while. And he had a new girlfriend back then. And every time I thought of his future with this girl, all I saw was darkness. Like black clouds and like depression and anxiety and just like how you how they portray depression as sometimes. And I told him to like something about this is really off. Like, and I have never had that kind of feeling before for someone. But he wouldn't listen. He was still with this girl. A few years later, like it didn't happen immediately, but a few years later, they broke up, and this guy went on a whole rabbit hole of becoming a smoker out of the blue and getting through depression, he had some health problems, so he was hospitalized and went through everything. I would not have known any of this, but somehow we reconnected and I got to know. And later I realized, oh, the thing that I saw for him back when I was 20, like it came true when like he was I was 25, and like 5 years later, like all of that had built up. But every time I saw their futures together, like it was not like I was trying to see like psychically, but it was just like this darkness that I could see like in their future. So that is the first time I saw very intense visuals for someone, and I realized, okay, this is something that's just not right. And and at that time I probably still did not know that I was psychic. Like it took me it took me the pandemic to realize that.
Hmm. So do you think it was because you have a connection to him, that you were able to sense that and see that? Or do you think that, or do you have a sense that if you look into to anybody's future, a person walking down the street, and do you like sense what kind of future that they could possibly have on their current trajectory?
I The thing is that this psychic is basically reading the energy that you're exhibiting right now.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's not exactly about the future, because future is still yet to be created. Future is still yet to be done, and our actions will create the future. So it's not point to point predicting the future. And also there's an element of free will. So if someone's standing in front of me and they don't want me to read them, I would not force myself to read them. Yet, if there's any harm that's coming to me from them, I would know because that's my intuition protecting me. Or if someone comes to me and they want me to read someone else for them, until and unless there's no element of harm or protection, like something that wants to play out in that dynamic, I cannot read someone who is not, because it's also a it's also a gift and not a power. Like it's not that like, oh, this is me, this is my ego, this is my power. It's more like this was given, and if I don't use it responsibly, it might be taken away.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's just such misconceptions about it that it's not like you will win the lottery, you will meet a tall dark stranger. Like it's about inner work. It's about inner child healing. It's about breaking patterns so that you can be released to do the thing that brings you joy. It's much more practical than people that judge it would know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And thank you for bringing the point of inner child healing, because a lot of times what I see, is it okay if I share like what I usually see for people when they come to me?
absolutely.
Okay. So this is the fun part. This is the part. I love this. So usually there are a couple of things. When you come to me, you have a problem. Suppose you're not getting the job that you want, or you're feeling blocked on your career, or you're having problems with your friends or family or some kind of health issue. Now, why are we having this problem? It's not always like, okay, sleep better, so, or eat better, your health is better. It's not always that simple. It kind of is, but it's also not, because there is so much stuff that happened to us when we were kids and even still happens to us on a subconscious level. And it all gets stored up in our brain, but also in our bodies, and different kind of pains and traumas, everything just starts accumulating in our body. So once all of that is there, we don't know what is actually saving us, um, but also blocking us from our potential. So maybe there's an incident where you learn some form of pattern, like being seen is not good, probably with a friend.
Yeah.
Random
Or
example.
you only have value if you are the good girl that gets the best grades and and ignores everything that's important to your true inner self.
Yes. So if you don't like, if you're not comfortable with being seen, you'll start to put on weight. And it will be really hard to let go of the weight in the future because you have the fear of being seen. You can go through dieting programs and stuff, but as long as that root that happened when you were a kid, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy of being seen, it will keep manifesting again and again. And that's why we've sabotaged like programs that we do, or things that we do, or promises that we make to ourselves, because these small events, they lodged like a permanent statement in our brains and in our bodies, like it's not safe to be seen, so let me hide, let me wear more clothes, let me put on more weight and stuff like that. And for me, being seen was really stressful because I loved being seen, but also did not love being seen. So it could manifest in so many different ways. It could manifest as conflict, it could manifest as illness. I definitely had an illness situation back in 2020, 2022, which was a long one, where my body just was losing weight. All of a sudden, I wasn't able to retain fats and proteins in my body. So I was crashing all the time. And it was because I had to make a decision, and I was not making that decision. And I was saying in my head, I would rather die than make the decision. So my body was doing
Okay,
that thing for
there
me.
she's Mike.
So, yes, all of these things that happen within us, they can be read in a psychic session. So, you could be going through a problem and not understanding what's there, because once we're in something, we cannot, like, it's difficult to zoom out and see. But if you can, that's amazing. So, having someone support you through that, maybe a coach or a therapist or psychic, they can see that for you and pull you out. The psychic has an advantage of reading your intuition and energy as well. So that is one of the things that I love to do, is to peel down the layers and also see, like, oh, what does your inner child actually need, or when did something happen, or when is this memory from. Sometimes it's very interesting how things come. I was doing a reading a few months back, and I was like, dude, I see death when you were 20. Who was dying when you were 20? And this woman did not say anything to me. After 3 months, she came back and she said, actually, I was going through leukemia, but I did not want to talk to you about it when we were in the session. I was like, okay, yeah.
And the $1 million question that lots of people want to know is, so who are you getting the messages from? Like your spirit guides, their spirit guides, the universe as a whole, ascended masters, etc.
Uh, This is something okay. Um, how do I want to answer this? I am probably getting answers from my spirit guides, but they're not very different from your spirit guides or like anyone's spirit guides. The way that I see the universe as a whole is, there's one big energy, and then it manifests into different forms. So it can take different god forms, or it can take different ascended master forms, or fairies, and all these different types of totems or things that, like,
The
it's
Force
like
in Star Wars.
yeah, it's like a potato, and then you can flavor it whatever way, and then you can choose it the way that you like to flavor it. So the universe is flavored by these different energies, and any energy that resonates with me, I will think like I'm hearing it from that particular energy. But you can assume that it's coming from your guides as well, because if I'm
Hmm.
reading for someone, no matter what I do, it's not going to be harmful to them.
Yeah,
If I'm so, in a way, their guides are consenting to that as well, what I'm delivering to them. Because
yeah,
if they're not ready for something, they'll not receive it.
yeah. It's like any message that's out there. If it resonates with you, it's also for you.
Mm,
And if it
yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
resonate, then you don't have to worry about it. Like, so
Yeah.
I have a question. Maybe there could be some support for it. If that's okay.
Okay.
All right. Why am I dumb? No. The self-sabotage thing. Why am I dumb about sleep? and like I'm already tired, but why do I just keep staying awake longer and longer and being stupid?
Like, is that like, are you asking me as a psychic or like more in a practical way?
Psychic.
Can you repeat your question again?
Yes. Why do I self-sabotage my sleep like a big dummy?
Okay. First thing, we don't call ourselves dummies.
Okay, okay. Like a cotton-headed ninny muggins?
Okay. Do you have some form of root chakra imbalance? Like I kept saying a red shoe kind of thing. I
Mm,
think something that's hmm, something that could be that we can look at is your relationship to your body,
mm,
because chakra is very like deep, grounded, and just like the very physical chakra, very physical energy center. And something about it just feels like it's, it's like a jewel, but it's very small. So I believe what's happening is like your root energy is very limited. Once you start expanding that, your sleep will start to, you'll start sleeping better and more. And one thing that I would recommend, and something that I am recently doing, is walking barefoot on the grass. I have not done
mm.
it for a very long time, but recently I started doing it in mornings. And let me tell you, I feel really good in my body, and it has helped me heal in the last few days as well. So just creating that connection with your body will help you sleep. There's nothing like major like, oh, this is the life trauma and stuff. This could be, but the only guidance I'm getting for you is this is a root chakra issue. Very simple thing. You just have to start building that connection with your body and you'll sleep like a baby.
And is
So,
root chakra also the one that's like feeling valued and feeling um secure?
yes, it's the chakra of connection, feeling connected, feeling like you belong, like you're a part of the tribe, very tribal. So
Hmm.
it's like that connection that we need, that connection with the earth. So yeah, that will help you.
See, that I'm really glad that I asked, because that's such a great demonstration of how our gifts come together. Like, I don't
Mhm.
see things, I just feel them. And
Yeah.
so there's a friend I'd love to connect you with, Aubin. He's a rainbow magician. He like does energetic work like with the chakras. Like, oh, I see that block there, and I'm just gonna tweak this. Now imagine that there's a tube coming out of your spine, and you can just release that to Gaia and just be free. And
Yeah. I do something similar in my activation session.
oh,
It's
it's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so
You'll be
neat.
like, you'll be very relaxed. You wouldn't be asking me anything. You'll just have to just like follow the instructions and stuff. But that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Now I need to take a moment to think about where we should go next with this. Um, did you have to struggle to accept having supernatural gifts?
Yes. I struggle a lot with feeling worthy of having them,
Oh.
because I did not like in my mind it was like, but I haven't done enough to have this. Like, why do I suddenly have this gift? Why do I suddenly am able to listen to my intuition? But over the course of my journey, I learned like it's normal to have these gifts. and we are conditioned not to focus on them, not to trust them, and then we forget. And then again, on our spiritual journey, we remember. So I was born with a lot of things, but then I forgot. And while forgetting, I implanted like these ideas of worthiness and deservingness. So when they actually emerged, I was questioning, why me? Like, I have not even, like, I don't deserve these gifts. Like, why do I get to see things? And also, there was a lot of fear that if I tell people, like, I can see things, what will they think about me?
Mm. Have you seen somebody's dead grandma that they're like,
Ooh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Last year, I was working with a coach for myself, and I saw her dad, and and he was going in a red car with a bunch of like old grandmas and just like a lot of people. She did not tell me a lot because we were just practicing it. Where she said like, yeah, like the guidance that he gave her through me, like it was exactly on point. But it was so funny, like her dad and like all these people are in a red car and they're flying somewhere. And I'm seeing this. It's not a dream. I'm seeing this.
you're seeing it like you're seeing me,
Yeah,
like
I'm more like not seeing it in the 3D, like the way that I see it, like the visual comes and goes. Like
okay,
it's in my mind, it never conjures in front. Somewhere I just see it or and just communicate it. Yeah.
okay, interesting. And so you're like, is this really relevant, or am I just having a
Yeah.
weird daydream?
Yes. So at that time I was starting to connect with people more like not just spirit guides, but at that time I started to connect with people who have passed over. So we were practicing that and it was really weird. And then sometimes for another friend, I connected to her dead grandma and she kept like out of the blue. I did not intend to do that. She just kept showing me something. And then I said to my friend, like, do you have something that's shiny, that's opal and stuff like that? And then she showed me a ring from her grandma. I was like, I was seeing this all this time. Just like, so it's interesting. Sometimes things come through. Sometimes it's more like words come through.
How was it telling your family about this new trajectory of your life?
They don't know all the things. My parents know that I coach people, I connect with them, I talk to them, and have a lot of conversations during the week. They are not 100% on board, but they're not on board either.
Mhm. How would they feel about this thing? Would they think that that's too weird and not good, not respectful of your original faith or whatever?
No, no, no. Actually, they value people who have these skills, but me having is kind of, it's like they can see the weirdo in their kid kind of thing that they're scared of, like my parents. And they actually do revere a lot of people who are seers, who can see. Um, my family comes, my parents respect people with these abilities. I'm just not sure if they respect me and see me the same way because then they'll have to detach the identity of their daughter from me. So that's, and I leave it up to them whenever they are ready. We can have the conversation. I don't force or push it on them. Like when they're ready, they'll start seeing things.
Like when they're ready, they would start to genuinely ask with an open mind to listen, kind of thing.
Um, Maybe, but I'm more so like they wouldn't be so concerned about me doing this work.
Mm. So I have a few different branches that we could go. Um, One thing that I'm kind of interested in is that I've listened to a lot of near-death experience stories, and so many people, pretty much everybody gets some kind of spiritual gift from it. So did
Mm.
you? nearly die at some point in your life? Because that seems, I'm just curious about that.
Not exactly. I'm not sure if it was a near death, it was a hallucination, or what happened to me during 2020. There was a few days before my birthday, I was sick. I had fever and I wasn't sure what was happening. But I was like, could be the virus, could not be the virus. Like it was the seasonal time, like Julys are usually like rainy season in India. So pe- I and like most people we usually contract like cold and stuff. So we don't know. So by the third or fourth day, one morning I woke up, like all of my body had these red dots kind of things. Like first it was my hands, then I saw like my face, my body, like it's mild, like it was not like dark red, but it was like everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. This is the virus. I've got the virus. And I was living alone at that time.
Mm.
So I was really shit scared. And I do remember I wasn't ready to die. But like my mind was going, okay, so I need to think about my money and whom do I give the money to? And like, I don't have a nominee in my bank account. I don't have blah, blah, blah. Like all the things my brain is chattering and I'm scared. And I'm alone. Like I'm living by myself back there, metropolitan, everything is weird. Then I decide, you know what? I'm going to give my best and see what happens. And I'm trying um these concoctions, like this kadha and stuff, which is more like a lot of herbs boiled in water to increase immunity. I'm listening to frequency music and everything. And there's a moment when I break down on the floor and I'm crying and I cry my heart out and it almost feels like I'm calling to a motherly figure, but not my mom, but a motherly figure. And I am like, I've just had enough. Can you hold me? I I don't know what to do, but if I get through this, whatever you tell me, I'm going to do it. That is something I was just like when I was sick, I was just whatever you say, I will do it. Just take me out of this time. And somehow, like the next day, I woke up, I was fine. I wanted to get my blood work done, and the guy postponed for 2 days. That day he came after I was fine. My blood was clean, my fever had gone, and I was like, okay, did I just make a commitment to some random energy when I was sick that I'm gonna do whatever they ask me?
Oh crap.
Yeah, that is closest to a near-death experience. It was not a full near-death,
Mm.
but I believe that day changed my trajectory a lot because I had that moment on my knees and crying my eyes out. That was my surrender moment. I still remember that day.
Mm. Did you feel that present? I mean, obviously you felt it because you felt the motherly warmth of it. Do you think that was possibly one of your guides?
Yeah, she was.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, good that I made a commitment to energy that's good, that has my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
That's that is such a neat story. Um, so here's a weird question, completely out of left field, and we can cut it if it's too dumb and pointless. But in your connecting with energies and visions and whatnot, have you ever seen any aliens?
No, I used to dream. When I was a kid, I had a lot of weird dreams. I'm not sure if that was aliens, but I had very weird visuals. Once I had this visual, which I cannot forget. So it was like I was going through to school in my van. Like there was a van that used to pick me up usually. And something happened, and everyone became like wires or like greenish symbols and stuff. And that time I did not know aliens, but that visual was so weird. And I woke up just like that. But later I realized like a lot of films and movies, they have like green color in that. So probably I was just like visited by aliens or I saw something. I don't know. But
Mm,
no, clear answer, no. I
that
haven't.
sounds it sounds like a glitch in the matrix kind of experience.
Yeah, it is a very weird dream. I cannot forget. Like I have a couple of dreams since my childhood that I cannot forget. Very weird though.
Mm. Um, so how has all of this affected your relationship to yeah, the religion you started with? How is that the same or has that evolved and expanded? Do you still
Mm,
have your I lost the word again, but your altar set up
yeah,
in your space?
yes. So, oh, I feel my relationship to, I did not like the religion aspect when I was a kid because I used to ask questions and nobody gave me those damn answers.
I have to say, I love to hear that from someone from India. Like, I grew up in a Western country. It was Christianity was the thing, and people feel the exact same way there. Nobody answered my questions. I got in trouble when I asked questions. So
Yeah,
this isn't special to Christianity. This is the world.
yes. I believe that if so, I come from Hindu religion. So the speciality of Hindu religion is I feel a lot of spiritual knowledge is translated to stories as symbolism and so that the stories are passed on so the knowledge is preserved and they don't tell the deeper meanings every single time or like people don't listen to it or don't seek out for it so they don't know the story survives so the knowledge survives but there are people who need to go forward and decode it or read it in a book or somehow get to the juice of it. Like, I feel like I am that person in my family because I need to know why we do what we do. Like, if we worship God this way, like, what is the point? If we have these many recitations of a mantra, what is the point? So I've always been this person. I asked my mom, my mom's like, I don't know. I'm just following what my mom said or like what the person said is good for us. Now, when I was a kid, I used to feel so frustrated because there were so many loose ends of stories that were told, and I did not know the answers. And some of the stories did not make sense to me. And I started my journey with Krishna. Krishna was more like a friend. I would chat to him, like I would sit in my mandir and just like have that conversation and stuff. And everyone thought I was weirdo. But I think it really helped me but after a while, there was some chaos, and I thought that Krishna should have saved me. Like I always had thought that like God is gonna be saving me, and he did not actually, because I was dumb enough to put myself in that kind of a situation. Well, I was not dumb enough, but I did not know better. I put myself and my ego took over in certain situations, and I thought God is bullshit. Don't I'm not going back to God. There was a period in my life where I was disconnected. Like I used to worship, but I was not connected. I did not want to be connected. And then since 2019, there was this opening in me where I felt something is missing. Like I told you, like I wanted something more in my life. First, it was grades, then it was a college, then it was money, and then it was just like, I want more. I don't know where I'm gonna get more. I was just like chasing and chasing and that. In 2019, I realized like there's no chasing, like everything's over. I have to find a way. Like that was my make or break time, quarter life crisis. In 2020, when this incident happened, I encountered a new form of energy or god, which was Kali. And when Kalima came into my life, like everything broke like bonkers. Like any form of ego got destroyed. Any labels, any boxes, like friendships are falling apart. I was in a romantic relationship back then. It was falling to shambles. My career collapsed. I was not able to hold on to money because my health needed me to invest a lot in my tests and my medicine. So I was not even like everything I was trying to do to survive my identity was not surviving. And the gift of Kali is destruction of what doesn't serve you. So all these identities that were not serving me, they were just like washing away. So at that time, I discovered, oh, spirituality is much more than things that I have been taught and told. And I experienced God, and like she was the mother archetype. So I experienced her in a whole different way. And then rebuilding and getting into the depth. Right now, I'm learning more about the roots of, like, the real roots of my culture and going back and hearing the stories, but not just the stories, the deeper meaning of like what's the significance of the story, what's being said beyond the words.
Mm.
And it makes so much more sense now. And I can, even if I had the same text in front of me back when I was a kid, I wouldn't have understood. I had to go through this whole becoming, unbecoming, becoming, unbecoming to appreciate the value of the depths of spiritual wisdom.
Oh, that is so neat. I'm so it's you're just such a capacitous person, and it's so neat to hear about these little bits of your journey. And yeah, I would be sure to I will put all the links that you give me in the description and show notes. And that if people want to connect with you, they if they feel that, yeah, I need that in my life. I need that wisdom and love in my life. Is there any last thing that you'd like to say to kind of close us out?
Mm, I would say that no matter where you are in your journey, loving yourself is something that took me a lot of years. And I'm still learning to love myself. And that is the solution to every problem.
Ooh.
So when, like, no matter where you are, what you're doing, wherever you're listening to this, I believe that someone out there needs to listen to this one bit. Like, learning to love yourself will solve more problems than you know. That
Mm.
is out of context of everything that we have spoken, but something about that just like stood out to me. Like when you said, okay, love was coming very strongly. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's for someone, and if it's for you, listener out there, I'd love to hear it. You can write a comment. You can connect with us on the social medias that you can find, and yeah. So the way that I end my conversations is I give hugs. Hugs. Thank you, and thank you for listening and being here. Yeah.
Hello again. So, the first thing that I thought would be fun to share is the little bit of a tutorial on how to pronounce her name. Helpful for those of us who have not come across many Indian names in our lives like me. She's so gracious.
And I'm pretty sure I still remembered how to pronounce her name. Shubhangi?
Shubhangi, yeah.
Shubhangi. So like the B and the H kind of Shubhangi.
Shub- It's Shubhangi.
Oh, Shubhangi.
So it's like uh so it's kind of like Shu Bha, and like there's like lip silent N.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, Shubhangi. So when you
Shubhangi.
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 Yes, perfect. You
Shubhangi.
got it. Yeah,
And
you
Swedish has
got
got a bit of that kind of swallowed N as well.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. My American mouth. Ah.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's okay. All right.
Let me know in the comments how well you were able to pronounce her beautiful name. I I love having these conversations, and I love following my curiosity and just feeling like a little kid, all caught up in the fact that magic is real, superpowers are real. The world is so much bigger than we could ever understand, and there is so much more beauty than a lot of us were led to believe. When you grow up thinking that your way is the only truth and everything else out there is sadly a lie, and thank goodness that you were born into the one right thing, it's very hard to keep an open mind and to even be willing to listen to anyone else. You only know what you know, and you only know what you were taught. And when you realize that you want more, and you want to hear the stories and spiritual experiences of other people, and you grow out of that, it's just so cool. It opens up so many doors. It makes the world feel accessible and wonderful. Thank you so much for listening and being here and spending this time. If you would like to connect with her, you can find links in the description or show notes. And I know that you would have a really wonderful time to talk with her and to gain something beautiful from her wisdom. I wanted to just share some of the notes from the reading that I got from her, because you might have some ideas about what it would be like, and I just want to give you some examples of what it was like for me. So the things that I wrote, some of the things I wrote down were: use your heart to guide you. Keep saying yes to who lights up my heart. Life doesn't give in proportion to my efforts. I'm trying to hold on to the old version of myself. As I was talking through some of my fears and some of my doubts, she had this beatific smile on her face, and she got this message from beyond herself that was saying that the wind can't hurt a diamond. My soul self is that diamond, and the strength of it is immense. So whatever blows around me is not going to destroy me. It's just wind. Celebrate how I can radiate more energy of myself. Project joy and light. Write myself a love letter. Celebrate what I've done, what I've accomplished. I won't read all of the notes, but I just felt so seen and so free to really be honest talking with her and getting these messages from her. So, yeah. Thank you so much for being here and sticking around for these rambles. It just feels important to share some of these thoughts. If you are still here, that means that you are a true fan of this podcast. You believe in the work that I'm doing. You love to be on this journey of creativity and discovery and curiosity. And if you would like to support the efforts of this channel, of this podcast, you can give me a donation on PayPal. that is an option, and the information for that is in the description. You can like this video. You can share it with someone who you think would enjoy it. Even leaving a comment is a useful means of support, because it's all about showing the YouTube algorithm that people are interested, and the more interaction that it gets with likes and comments and views, the more it promotes it out to others. And I would love to see this grow. I would love to see more people that resonate with this content come and enjoy it and get something beautiful out of it. So, that's it for now. Thank you so much for being here. Hugs! I'm so glad you're still here. Please like this video, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe. Bye!